Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be the one who ties the noose? Knowing that in doing so, you're actually saving a life? Well, tonight, we're going to flip that on its head. We're going to explore what happens when the executioner becomes the condemned, when the only person who knows how to stop a war is the one about to be silenced forever. This is a story about Hélène Petit, a woman whose confidence was her sharpest tool, and whose pessimism was her only shield. Caught between the iron fist of a corrupt colonial governor and the whispers of a secret pirate alliance. She holds the key to everything, but the lock is a hangman's knot, and it's cinching tight around her own neck. It's a grim world we're stepping into, a place of splintered wood and saltwater rot. You probably won't survive this, mostly due to the rampant dysentery and the general lack of anything resembling modern medicine. So, before you get too comfortable with the bleakness, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It truly helps the channel find others who appreciate these quiet, late-night stories. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. I love seeing how far these tales travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The rope is surprisingly coarse against your skin. You'd always made sure yours were smoother, treated with tallow, so the final moments would be swift, a clean break rather than a desperate choking dance. It's a professional courtesy you are not being afforded. You are Hélène Petit, and for 5 years this platform was your stage, your workshop. Today, it is your tomb. The sun beats down on the fortress wall, warming the raw pine of the gallows until it sweats a sticky, sharp scent. Below you, the crowd is a restless sea of bonnets and tricorn hats, their faces turned up like pale, hungry flowers. Their murmurs are a dull roar, a beast with 1,000 mouths chewing on your name. You stand tall. It's the one thing you can control. Your confidence, once a genuine part of you, is now just a costume you've pulled on. You learned long ago that people see what they expect to see, and they expect the port's hangman to be made of stone. They don't expect to see her in a rough spun shift, her wrists bound, her own work dangling inches from her ear. The pessimism, however, that part is real. It's a cold, hard stone in your gut, calculating the drop, the weight, the inevitable snap. You give yourself a 90% chance of a clean death. A small mercy. Your eyes scan the crowd, not out of fear, but out of habit. You're looking for one face. There, tucked behind a stack of rain barrels near the edge of the square. Nathaniel, your brother. His face is a mess of frantic worry, so pale he seems almost transparent in the harsh Caribbean light. His hands, usually stained with the grease and soot of his armorer's forge, are clenched white at his sides. He looks so much younger than his 20 years, so profoundly out of place. Insecure, anxious Nathaniel, who flinched at the sight of a drawn sword, but could fix the firing mechanism of a flintlock by touch alone. You feel a familiar, painful tightening in your chest. He's the reason you're here. Not by his actions, but by your love for him. It was always your one exploitable weakness. A hush falls over the crowd as a new figure ascends the steps to the platform. Governor Thompson. He's a man who looks perpetually stuffed into a coat that is one size too small, his face florid, his wig powdered just a little too perfectly. He's cruel in the way that only weak men striving for power can be. He needs to make a statement, to crush the whispers of dissent that have been rustling through the port city like dry leaves. And you, the stoic, independent hangman who answered to no one but the law, are his perfect pawn. He unrolls a scroll, his voice booming with practiced authority. Let it be known, the woman Hélène Petit, known to you all as the town executioner, stands before you condemned, found guilty of treason, of consorting with pirates, of aiding in their villainous attack on the merchant vessel Sea Serpent. Quote, the lie is so bald, so audacious, you almost want to laugh. The Sea Serpent, that's what they're calling it. You remember the sound, not of a pirate attack, but the distinctive, terrifying whistle of chain shot fired from a military-grade cannon. You were a passenger on that ship, coming back from a supply run, when the volley tore through the rigging, a calculated attack designed to cripple, not to plunder. It was a naval strike, clean and brutal. Pirates are messy. This was not. The governor drones on, his speech a tapestry of fear-mongering and false piety. He's painting a picture of a city under siege from a pirate menace, a threat that only his strong hand can repel. You tune him out, your focus turning inward. to the secret you carry. It's not in your pocket, not tucked in your boot. It's hidden in plain sight. On the frayed cuff of your sleeve, a single loose thread has been worked into a series of tiny, intricate knots. A light horseman's hitch, a sheepshank, a marlin spike. It's a language of rope, a code you learned from an old sailor long ago. You'd spent the 2 nights in your cell meticulously tying it with your teeth and the one hand they'd occasionally unchain to let you eat. It's a message for a man named Rackham, a pirate captain with more honor than the governor could ever comprehend. The message is simple. The governor knows. The alliance is compromised. He has the armorer. And that's when the pieces slam together in your mind with the force of a physical blow. The governor's escalating paranoia about pirates, his sudden need to make a public, terrifying example, and your brother, Nathaniel, his recent, secretive work. He'd been so proud, telling you in hushed tones about a major commission, a private buyer who needed dozens of cannons recalibrated, hundreds of rifles perfectly sighted. He thought he was supplying a wealthy merchant consortium, but you realize now, with chilling certainty, who he was really working for: the hidden pirate alliance. He's been arming the very rebellion the governor is trying to exterminate. The chain shot that ripped through your ship, it wasn't meant to kill you. It was meant to capture you, to create a pretext for the governor to clamp down, to seize assets, to root out his enemies. Your gaze drifts back to the crowd, and this time you see him. Standing near the governor's personal guard, half hidden in the shadow of the fortress wall, is John Silver, not the one-legged cook of legend, but a bounty hunter with eyes as cold and dead as sunken coins. His purse looks heavier today. He's the one who found you amidst the wreckage of the Sea Serpent, the one who spun the tale of you signaling a pirate vessel. He's the one who sold your life to the governor for a handful of silver. The greedy, grasping fool. He meets your eyes for a fraction of a second, and you see a flicker of something. Not guilt, but a smug, proprietary satisfaction. He sees you not as a person, but as a profitable transaction now concluded. And so with this act, the governor's voice cuts through your thoughts, rising to a crescendo, we purge the traitors from our midst. We send a message to every black-hearted corsair on the sea. This port is a fortress of righteousness. Quote, he nods curtly to the man beside you, a hulking, nervous deputy who now has the unenviable task of being your hangman. The man's hands are slick with sweat as he reaches for the black hood. The dull, rhythmic beat of a single drum begins to sound from the far side of the square. It's the final countdown. Your mind is racing. Your pessimism was right. Your life is forfeit. But the secret, the knotted thread on your cuff, is more than just your own story now. It's Nathaniel's life. It's the fate of the entire alliance. If you die, the message dies with you. The pirates will sail into the governor's trap, and Nathaniel will be exposed as their armorer. He'll be next on this platform. The deputy fumbles with the hood. The rough fabric scrapes against your cheek. You have seconds. Do you shout the secret to the crowd, hoping Rackham has men listening? It would be a mad gamble, exposing everything and sealing your brother's fate just as surely. Do you try to speak to the deputy, to the priest, who is muttering prayers you can't hear? No, they are all the governor's men. The drumbeat gets louder, a heartbeat counting down the end of your world. The hood slips over your eyes, plunging you into a scratchy, suffocating darkness. You feel the heavy knot being settled, the coarse fibers chafing your jaw. This is it. The shadow of the gallows is finally falling, and you are utterly, terrifyingly alone with your secret. The drumbeat is a physical thing inside the black void of the hood. It's the only reliable measure of time you have left. Thump, thump. One heartbeat. Thump, thump. Another. You can smell the deputy's sour sweat, the stale pomade from the governor's wig, the salt on the wind. Your own breath is hot and trapped, smelling of fear and the dry bread you were given for a final meal. You try to focus on the cold stone of pessimism, the 90% chance of a clean break. It's a small comfort, but it's the only one you have. The deputy's clumsy hands adjust the noose, pulling it tighter. As he cinches it, the poorly fitted hood shifts, riding up just a fraction of an inch. A sliver of the world is restored to you, a distorted, wavering slit of vision beneath your right eye. The light is blinding, the colors of the crowd a smear. But you can make out the corner by the rain barrels, and you can see Nathaniel, He's no longer just wringing his hands, he's moving, his actions sharp and desperate. He sees you're looking, sees this tiny, impossible window of opportunity. He mimes drawing a cutlass, a violent slash through the air, and then shakes his head, a frantic, wide-eyed NO. He stabs a finger towards the fortress wall behind him, then towards the governor's dais, then back to the wall. He cups his hands around his eyes as if looking through a spyglass, sweeping them across the stone ramparts. Not attack, search. They are searching the fort. The message hits you with the clarity of a bell toll. It's not a siege, it's a recovery mission. The drum stops. The silence is absolute, a vacuum that sucks the air from your lungs. You hear the creak of wood, the sharp metallic click of a lever being released. This is it. You brace for the fall, for the snap, for the 90% chance. The floor drops away, but there is no violent jerk, no final, shocking severance. Instead, there is a splintering crash and the sickening scrape of wood on stone. You plunge not 3 feet, but 10, then 20, tumbling down a steep, narrow chute in a cascade of broken planks and dust. The noose, never properly anchored to a snapping point, catches on a protruding stone, yanking you hard but not breaking your neck. You're left dangling, choking, feet kicking at empty space in the sudden, cool dark. Above, you hear screams, shouts of confusion. The execution has failed. Panic, hot and primal, claws at your throat. You can't breathe. The knotted rope is a garrote. Your hands, bound in front of you, fly to the rope, fingers scrabbling for purchase, for any slack. Your knowledge of knots, a lifetime of it, floods your mind. You twist, trying to work the pressure off your artery, gasping for a sliver of air. Your feet find a wall, rough-hewn stone slick with damp. Pushing off, you manage to swing your body, to ease the tension for a precious second. A small flickering light appears below you. "Lena! Down here!" Nathaniel's voice, a hoarse whisper, echoing up the chute. Hope is a dangerous, unfamiliar fire in your chest. You kick again, finding another foothold, and use the momentum to swing towards the light. Your bound hands are a useless club, but you twist your body, slamming your shoulder into the wall. Pain shoots through you, but it buys you an inch of slack. You do it again. And again. Your world is reduced to this. The burning rope, the bruising stone, the desperate need for air. Suddenly, with a final, agonizing scrape, the noose slips over your chin. You drop the last few feet, landing in a heap on a stone floor, coughing, retching, dragging in ragged, life-giving breaths. The rope is still around your neck like a hideous collar. Nathaniel is there, his face illuminated by the single candle he holds, a mask of terror and relief. He pulls a small, sharp knife from his belt, a tool for trimming wicks or cutting patches, and saws at the thick ropes binding your wrists. "I sabotaged the bolt," he whispers, his hands shaking so badly he can barely hold the knife. "I replaced the main iron pin with a lead one I cast last night. I hoped it would shear off, that it would drop the trap door completely. I didn't know if it would work." "It worked," you rasp, your throat feeling like it's been scoured with sand. You rub your raw wrists as the ropes fall away. "The signal. You said they're searching." Quote, "Yes. Come on. We don't have long." He grabs your arm, pulling you deeper into the darkness, away from the column of light and chaos spilling down from the gallows above. The passage is narrow, smelling of stagnant water and old decay. It's a service tunnel, you realize, one of the forgotten veins running through the guts of the old fortress. "What are they searching for, Nat?" you demand, your voice growing stronger with every step. "What is so important they'd risk this?" Quote, he leads you into a small, circular chamber, a junction of several tunnels, and finally stops, holding the candle up. His face is streaked with grime, his eyes wide. "It wasn't an attack, Lena. The sea serpent. They weren't pirates, not in the way the governor means. It's Rackham's crew. The Alliance. They were trying to pass me a map." The pieces click into place, forming a picture more terrible than you imagined. "You're the armorer. You've been arming the Pirate Alliance." He flinches but nods. "They're not just pirates. They're dissenters. Sons of the families who founded this port before the crown sent men like Thompson to bleed it dry. They believe they have a right to govern themselves." He takes a deep, shuddering breath. "The governor is broke, Lena. The colony is failing. His only play is to manufacture a crisis, declare martial law, and seize every asset he can. He needs to crush the Alliance before they can expose him. So he used the chain shot incident. He used me. Your voice is flat, cold. Silver found me. He spun the tale. Silver works for whoever has the most coin, Nathaniel says bitterly. The governor paid him to find a scapegoat for the pirate attack. And you were perfect. Visible, independent, a symbol. Your execution was meant to be the start of his purge. Quote, but what are they searching for? You press, your gaze falling to the knotted message on your cuff. What does the governor want to destroy? Nathaniel sets the candle down on a stone ledge. Its light throws his shadow, huge and distorted, against the curved wall. It's not just gold or jewels. It's a document. They call it the Founder's Charter, an original royal patent granted to the first families, giving them autonomous rule over this island, independent of any appointed colonial governor. It's the legal basis for their entire rebellion. Legend says it was hidden within the fortress walls when the first governor from the crown arrived. Quote, and Rackham's crew believes they know where it is. You finish for him. The map. Quote, yes, they were supposed to pass it to me on the Sea Serpent. The chain shot was a signal, a way to disable the ship so their contact could come aboard without raising suspicion. But one of the governor's patrol boats saw the exchange. They assumed it was a pirate attack. They captured you, and the governor's men got the map. It all makes sense now. The governor doesn't just want to stop the pirates. He wants their legitimacy. With that charter, he wouldn't just be a temporary political appointee. He could declare himself absolute ruler, backed by a legal document he stole from his enemies. He would use their own history to erase them. He has the map, you say, the cold stone of pessimism, settling back into your gut. He's looking for the charter, too. It's a race. And when he finds it, he'll destroy it, Nathaniel says, his voice cracking. And he'll hunt down and kill everyone in the Alliance, me included. Lena, I'm so sorry. I dragged you into this. You look down at your hands, then at the intricate knots on your sleeve. The light horseman's hitch. The sheepshank. The governor knows. The Alliance is compromised. He has the armorer. Your message was true but incomplete. It's so much worse. The governor doesn't just have the armorer's sister. He has the key to their destruction and the map to their salvation. No, you say, your voice finding a new hardness. A new purpose forged in the dark tunnel beneath your own gallows. You are no longer just the condemned. You are the messenger. He doesn't have the armorer. Not yet. You meet your brother's terrified eyes, and he won't get the charter. We have to get to Rackham. We have to tell him what's really happening. It's the only way. Quote, you look from Nathaniel's pale face to the two dark tunnels stretching away from your small circle of light. Above, the shouts are growing more organized. They will be coming for you. Your improbable survival was just the beginning. The real escape starts now. You choose the tunnel on the left, the one that slopes down, a faint briny smell wafting from its depths. It's not a choice based on logic, but on a ghost of a memory, a story your father used to tell about the city's secret anatomy. All ports have two faces, Lena, he'd said, his voice smelling of tobacco and ink, the one they show the sun and the one they hide in the dark. The real city is in the dark. Nathaniel follows you, his footsteps loud and uncertain in the echoing silence. He is an armorer, a man of fire and solid metal. This world of damp stone and shadows is alien to him. To you, it is a half-forgotten language. The tunnel twists, and the air grows thick with the smell of salt and decay. Your bare feet slip on the slick stones. You trail your fingers along the wall, feeling for any irregularity. And then you find it, a small, carved marking, almost invisible in the gloom. It's a spiraling nautilus shell with a single straight line crossing through its center. Your father's mark. He was a cartographer, a map maker for the crown, that's what everyone knew. But you knew his other maps, the ones he drew in secret ink on the back of official charts, maps of hidden coves and treacherous currents. He wasn't just a cartographer, he was a pirate's cartographer. This mark means you are on one of his hidden paths. A smuggler's tide, as he called it. The path leads away from the fortress. The tunnel ends not in a grate or a sewer outflow, but at a rotting wooden wall. You push, and a section gives way with a groan, depositing you into the musty darkness of a long abandoned cellar. The air is heavy with the smell of cured leather and rat droppings. Above, you can hear the muffled sounds of the city, and a new, more urgent sound, the tolling of the garrison bell. The alarm for your escape. They know. They're searching for us, Nathaniel whispers, his voice tight with panic. Let them search the public face, you murmur, pulling him towards a set of stone steps. We'll use the other one. You emerge into a narrow alley, a mere crack between two towering, dilapidated tenements. The sliver of sky above is a dirty gray. The noise of Port Royal crashes down on you. The shouts of vendors, the screech of gulls, the distant crash of waves against the seawall. But underneath it all is a new, ugly rhythm. The tramp of soldiers' boots on cobblestones. The sharp bark of orders. You pull Nathaniel into the deeper shadows of an overhang, your heart pounding in time with the alarm bell. A patrol of 4 red-coated soldiers marches past the mouth of the alley, their muskets held at the ready. Leading them, his eyes scanning every window and doorway, is John Silver. His greed is a palpable thing, a hunger that makes him sharper, more dangerous than any soldier. He is not just earning his pay. He is protecting his investment. He taught me how to see the currents, you whisper, more to yourself than to Nathaniel. The flows of people. This time of day, the main streets are at high tide. We stick to the eddies, the backwaters. Quote, you lead him on a winding, seemingly nonsensical path. You move through fishmongers' alleys slick with guts, their stench clinging to the air. You slip through the yard of a cooperage, the stacks of barrels providing a labyrinth of cover. Every corner is a risk, every open space a potential trap. Whispers follow you from behind grimy windows and half-closed shutters. Your face, the hangman's face, is known to everyone. But here, in the city's hidden veins, you are also someone else, the cartographer's daughter. It affords you a different kind of recognition, a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. You stop at a small, forgotten square dominated by a grimy fountain. A chipped stone mermaid sits at its center, her face eroded by salt and time. You remember playing here as a child, your father pointing out the mermaid's vacant eyes. Always look for the place no one else does, he told you. You run your fingers along the inside lip of the fountain's basin, beneath the waterline. Your fingers close around a small, loose stone. You pull it free. Etched on its underside is another nautilus, but this one has an arrow pointing towards the docks, towards a notorious tavern called the Drowned Man. It's a place where secrets are traded like currency, and lives are cheap. This way, you say, your voice grim. The Drowned Man is the last place a man like Nathaniel should be, but it's the first place you might find a friend, or at least, an ally. The tavern is a low-ceilinged, smoke-filled room that reeks of stale rum and unwashed bodies. It's dark, the only light coming from a few sputtering tallow candles that cast flickering, monstrous shadows on the walls. It's a haven for the dregs of the port, deserters, smugglers, and pirates lying low between voyages. Your entrance causes a momentary lull in the low rumble of conversation. Heads turn, eyes hard and wary, assess you and your trembling brother. You ignore them, your gaze sweeping the room until you find him. He's sitting alone in the darkest corner, a man as weathered and beaten as an old piece of driftwood. A tangle of gray hair and beard frames a face crisscrossed with scars, and one of his eyes is a milky blind white. A half-empty bottle of rum sits at his elbow. This is Cormac, a name whispered with a mix of fear and reverence. He was a quartermaster for one of the most feared pirate crews of the last generation, before he lost his eye and his nerve. He looks up, and his one good eye, a sharp, intelligent blue, fixes on you, a flicker of recognition. "Well, well," he rasps, his voice like stones grinding together. "The cartographer's girl. I heard you'd found yourself in a bit of a tangle." He gestures with his bottle to the empty chair opposite him. "Come to ask an old man for a story?" Nathaniel hangs back by the door, looking utterly terrified. You walk to the table and sit, your posture as straight and unyielding as it was on the gallows. You learned long ago that in a place like this, fear is blood in the water. "I need to find Rackham," you say, keeping your voice low. "The Alliance." Cormac takes a long pull from his bottle, his good eye never leaving your face. "That's a name that'll get you killed today. The governor's dogs are sniffing under every rock. Thompson's gone mad. He's not just hunting pirates, he's looking for the charter." He leans forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "He has their map. He's tearing the fort apart, looking for it. And he's squeezing the port, for anyone who might know where Rackham is mustering his fleet. Quote, "That's why I have to find him," you insist. "The governor doesn't just have the map. He's been fed a lie. Rackham is sailing into a trap." Cormac studies you for a long moment, the silence stretching thin. He sees the raw rope burn on your neck, the desperation in your eyes, that you can't quite hide behind your confident mask. He sees your father's stubbornness in the set of your jaw. "I can't get you to him," he says finally. "It's too hot." But there are whispers on the wind, places where words can be left to be carried on the next tide. He smiles, a grim, humorless thing. "It'll cost you, girl." "I have nothing," you say, gesturing to your rough-spun shift. "Everyone has something," he counters. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a small object, placing it on the table between you. It's a small gull, carved from a piece of pale driftwood, its wings outstretched. The craftsmanship is surprisingly delicate. There's a rendezvous, a message drop, where the ghost ship meets the sunken street, at the turn of the tide. You'll understand when you see it. Rackham will have men there. But so will others. He pushes the wooden bird towards you. There's a captain, goes by the name of Anne. Fierce lass. Good with a blade. She'll be there for her own reasons. I'm too old and too known to show my face. Give this to her, just put it in her hand. Say nothing else. You do that for me, and I'll make sure your own message, that the governor's waiting for them, finds its way to Rackham's ear before the trap is sprung. Quote, "You pick up the bird. It's smooth and cool in your palm, a simple favor, yet nothing in this world is ever simple. This is a new thread, a new complication in an already tangled knot. But you have no choice. Where the ghost ship meets the sunken street," you repeat, committing it to memory. "At the turn of the tide," he confirms, leaning back in his chair, his part in the transaction finished. He takes another long drink of rum, his gaze already drifting away, dismissing you. You stand and nod to Nathaniel. As you turn to leave, the tavern door bursts open. Two of the governor's soldiers stand silhouetted against the daylight, their eyes adjusting to the gloom. Your blood runs cold. For a heart-stopping second, their gaze sweeps over you. But they are not looking for a woman in a prisoner's shift. They are looking for smugglers, for pirates. Their eyes slide past you, and they move towards the bar, their heavy boots loud on the wooden floor. You don't wait for them to look again. You grab Nathaniel's arm and slip out the back entrance, into another stinking alley, your heart hammering against your ribs. You have the clue, you have the mission, and the governor's net is closing all around you. The alley empties onto a shingled beach littered with the bones of forgotten ships. The tide is turning, a slow, inexorable retreat of gray water that exposes a slick, glistening pathway of black rock leading out towards the sea. To your left, the fortress wall looms, a dark silhouette against the failing light. To your right, the coast curves away into a series of jagged cliffs. The alarm bell has finally ceased its frantic tolling, replaced by the mournful cries of gulls and the rhythmic hiss of the receding surf. The air is cold, and you feel the damp seeping into your thin shift. Nathaniel shivers beside you, though, whether from cold or fear, you can't tell. "Where are we going? What did he mean, a ghost ship?" You don't answer, your eyes fixed on the horizon. There, wedged between two towering sea stacks, is the wreck. It's the remains of a galleon, the Santa Isabel, which broke its back on the reef 50 years ago. Its bleached ribs arch towards the sky like the skeleton of some colossal beast. It is the port's most famous ghost ship, and the path of black rock, now fully exposed by the ebbing tide, leads directly to the narrow channel it guards. The sunken street. "This way," you say, your voice more certain than you feel. "And stay quiet. Don't speak unless I speak to you." The walk across the wet rocks is treacherous. Your bare feet, toughened by years of pacing wood and stone, find purchase where Nathaniel's worn leather shoes slip and slide. He stumbles, and you catch his arm, a silent, firm warning. As you draw closer, you see the channel is deeper than it looked, a miniature canyon carved by the relentless water. The wreck of the Santa Isabel acts as a gatehouse, its splintered hull forming a roof over the entrance. You slip into the shadow of the wreck, and the sound of the open sea is instantly muted, replaced by the drip of water and the hushed echoes of voices from within. You have found the rendezvous. The cove is not large, a natural amphitheater of dark stone, accessible only through this tidal passage. Dozens of figures move within its sheltered confines, their activity illuminated by the flickering orange light of several carefully shielded fires. But this is not the scene of drunken revelry and debauchery from the governor's pamphlets. This is a temporary disciplined encampment. You see a group of men sitting in a circle, their movements practiced and economical as they sharpen cutlasses and pikes on whetstones. The scrape of steel on stone a steady rhythmic sound. Near another fire, a woman with a navigator's quadrant is making calculations on a slate, arguing in low tones with two men over a tattered sea chart spread on a barrelhead. A small forge has been set up in an alcove, the soft hiss of hot metal quenched in water, a familiar sound that makes Nathaniel flinch. Men and women mend torn sails with long needles, resplice rigging, and check the mechanisms of their flintlocks. They are a community, a functioning unit. They are not just pirates, they are soldiers preparing for a war. Your pessimism, your constant companion, whispers that this is a war they are about to lose. Your eyes scan the faces, looking for the fierce Captain Cormac mentioned. You spot her near the largest fire. She stands with her back to you, one hand resting on the hilt of a sheathed rapier, her leather breeches and tall boots, a stark contrast to the rough-spun clothes of many others. She turns slightly, issuing a quiet order to a man oiling a pistol, and you see her profile. She is younger than you expected, her face sharp and intelligent, framed by a cascade of fiery red hair tied back with a leather thong. That must be Anne. You take a deep breath, the small wooden gull clutched tight in your hand, and take a step forward, pulling a reluctant Nathaniel with you. This is it. The exchange. Give her the bird, deliver your warning, and pray Cormac holds up his end of the bargain. But before you can take a second step, a change sweeps through the cove. It is not a sound, but a cessation of it. The scraping of steel stops. The low conversations die. The men at the forge put down their tools. A sudden, profound silence falls over the assembly, a shared stillness of respect and apprehension. Every eye turns towards the deepest, darkest part of the cove, where a natural cave mouth gapes like a wound in the rock. A figure emerges from the shadows, and your blood turns to ice. He is not the wild-eyed, blood-soaked monster of tavern tales. He is tall and slender, dressed in a coat of rich crimson damask, its lace cuffs immaculately clean. His breeches are black silk, his shoes adorned with silver buckles that catch the firelight. He carries no brutish cutlass, only a light, elegant sword at his hip. His face is handsome, sharp-featured, and framed by long, dark hair. He looks more like a nobleman than the most feared pirate on the seven seas. He carries a single cup in his hand, and as he steps into the light, you can smell the faint, aromatic scent of tea. Bartholomew Black Bart Roberts. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His presence commands the space utterly. His dark, intelligent eyes sweep across the gathered crews, missing nothing. And then they stop. They stop on you and the pale, terrified armorer at your side. Two strangers, two pieces that do not fit in his perfectly ordered puzzle. It seems we have guests, he says. His voice is calm, cultured, with a faint Welsh lilt. It is the most terrifying sound you have ever heard. Two of his crew, large men with pistols already in hand, detach themselves from the crowd and move towards you. Nathaniel makes a small, choked sound, and you put a hand on his chest, holding him in place. Panic now would be a death sentence. We're looking for someone, you say, your voice steady, projecting a confidence you are far from feeling. You keep your eyes on Roberts. Showing fear to the wolves at your side is foolish. You must address the alpha. Roberts takes a slow, deliberate sip of his tea. Are you now? This is a private gathering. For those with an invitation. His gaze flicks down to your bare feet. Your prisoners shift. The raw rope burn on your neck. Your invitation appears to have been lost. The two men reach you, grabbing your arms in iron grips. Nathaniel yelps as another pirate seizes him. They begin to drag you forward, across the sandy floor of the cove, towards the man in the crimson coat. The entire population of the cove watches in silence. You are the evening's entertainment. You are hauled to a stop a few feet from him. He looks down at you, not with malice, but with a kind of detached curiosity, like a naturalist examining a strange new insect. Who sent you? He asks, his voice soft. You know you cannot mention Cormac. An old pirate's favor is a fragile currency, not meant to be spent in the court of a king. You open your hand, revealing the small wooden gull. We were told to give this to a captain named Anne. Quote, at the mention of her name, the red-haired woman steps forward. She looks at the gull, then at Roberts, a silent question in her eyes. Roberts, however, does not look at her. His eyes are fixed on the bird in your palm. A flicker of something, not recognition, but calculation, crosses his face. Cormac's little trinkets. The old dog still barks, then. He gestures dismissively. Anne is busy. You will speak with me. He turns his gaze to Nathaniel, who shrinks under the scrutiny. And who is this? He has the smell of coal smoke and fear about him, not a sailor. My brother, you say. He is an armorer. The word hangs in the air. Robert's eyes narrow. An armorer, he repeats slowly. How convenient. The Alliance is in desperate need of a good armorer, especially one who appears in my private harbor on the very day Governor Thompson decides to tear his fortress apart, looking for a certain piece of paper. Quote, He knows about the charter. Your careful plan, your single knotted message, is a child's scrawl in the face of this man's intelligence network. The pessimism in your gut solidifies into a leaden certainty. You have not escaped one trap merely to blunder into another, far more complex and deadly. The governor doesn't just have the map, you say, deciding that a half-truth is better than a lie he will certainly see through. He's been fed false information. Rackham is sailing into an ambush. The patrol boats are waiting for him. Quote, Robert smiles, a thin, cold expression that does not reach his eyes. You offer me yesterday's news. I am aware of the governor's military dispositions. I am aware of Rackham's unfortunate sentimentality. I am aware of the map. What I am not aware of, he leans in closer, his voice dropping so only you can hear it, is why the port's executioner, a woman known for her cold independence, would risk her neck twice in one day for a band of idealistic fools. Quote, He holds the key, he sees the entire board, while you have only been staring at your own small corner. He is not just another pirate. He is a rival power to the governor himself. My brother's life is tied to theirs, you state simply. It is the only truth that matters. Ah, yes, the armorer. He straightens up, his gaze sweeping from you to Nathaniel and back again. He sees your one exploitable weakness just as the governor did. So you find yourself in a predicament. The governor wants you dead. The alliance you seek to warn is sailing to its doom. And you have stumbled into my harbor. I am a pragmatic man, Helene Petit. I believe in order, in discipline, and in profit. The governor's chaos is bad for business. Rackham's rebellion is sentimental nonsense. But this founder's charter, he lets the words hang in the air, that is an instrument of power. Power can be shaped. Power can be sold. He steps back and addresses the silent crowd. We sail with the morning tide. This business is concluded. He looks back at you, his decision made. The pirates holding you tighten their grip. I am in need of a new instrument, a tool that can move unseen in Port Royal, a messenger that the governor thinks is dead. He is not offering you a place in his crew. He is offering you a role, a dangerous, impossible role. The governor is looking for the charter in the fortress, he continues, his voice a low murmur once more. He is looking in the wrong place. The map he holds is a decoy, a forgery I helped plant myself. I know where the real charter is hidden, and you are going to help me acquire it. Quote, The choice is laid bare before you, sharp and brutal as a blade's edge. You can refuse, and he will kill you and your brother without a second thought, 2 more bodies washed out with the tide. Or you can agree. You can become a pawn for Black Bart, caught between the crown and the most ruthless pirate alive, playing a game whose rules you do not understand. Making a deal with this man is a pact with the shadow itself. But in that shadow, you see the faintest glimmer of a chance. A chance to save Nathaniel. A chance to turn the tables on the governor. A chance, perhaps, to survive. What do you want me to do? You ask, the words tasting like ash in your mouth. Black Bart's cold smile returns. For now, he says, turning and walking back towards the darkness of the cave, you will simply stay alive. We have much to discuss. The pirates do not release you. Instead, you and Nathaniel are herded into the very cave from which Roberts emerged, your steps echoing in the vast, dark space. The air is cool, and smells of damp earth and something else, something clean and spicy, the tea Roberts was drinking. A lantern is lit, revealing a surprisingly civilized chamber. A heavy oak desk stands against one wall, charts pinned neatly above it. A sea chest serves as a chair, and a single, simple cot is made up in the corner. This is Robert's private domain, a sanctuary of order amidst the chaos of a pirate's life. You are left under the watchful eye of a single guard, a silent man with a face like a hatchet, who positions himself at the cave mouth, blocking your only exit. Nathaniel sinks to the floor, wrapping his arms around his knees, his trembling finally subsiding into a state of shock. "What have you done, Lena?" he whispers, his voice hollow. "Making a deal with him?" "He's a monster." "The governor is a monster in a powdered wig," you counter, your voice low and hard. You pace the small space, your bare feet cold on the stone. "Roberts is a monster with a clear objective. That makes him predictable. It makes him useful." Your pessimism doesn't see hope in this situation. It sees a narrow, dangerous path between two closing walls. Roberts is simply the wall that hasn't crushed you yet. You spend the night in that cave, a strange, suspended state of captivity. You are given hardtack and water. Nathaniel refuses to eat, but you force yourself to chew and swallow the dry biscuit. You will need your strength. The tide turns, the water rushing back into the channel, isolating the cove completely. You listen to the sounds of the camp die down, replaced by the soft roar of the sea, a constant reminder of the vast, indifferent power that surrounds you. Before dawn, you are roused. The hatchet-faced guard leads you and Nathaniel back out into the cove. The fires have been doused, the camp packed away with silent, disciplined efficiency. In the gray pre-dawn light, you see the ship properly for the first time. It rides at anchor just beyond the mouth of the cove, a sleek, dark-hulled frigate. It's not a commandeered merchant vessel, battered and jury-rigged. It's a purpose-built predator, its lines clean, its masts tall and proud. The Royal Fortune. You are ferried out in a longboat. As you climb the rope ladder to the deck, you are struck again by the order. The wood is scrubbed clean, the ropes are coiled with geometric precision, the brass fittings gleam. The crew moves with a quiet purpose that is far more intimidating than the drunken shouting of lesser pirates. Nathaniel, a man who understands the mechanics of war, looks at the rows of cannons, their muzzles run out and ready, and a new kind of fear dawrites on his face. This is not a rabble. This is an army. Roberts is on the quarterdeck. Looking out towards the rising sun, he doesn't turn as you are brought before him. "The tide is with us," he says, his voice carrying easily on the morning breeze. "But the governor's hounds will not be far behind. They know this coast. They know where to look." He finally turns his gaze on you. "Your father mapped these waters for the crown, did he not? But he also mapped them for others. I trust his daughter inherited his eye for detail." Quote, "It is not a question, it is a demand. You are his new tool, and he is testing your edge." "The crown's maps show the safe channels," you reply, meeting his gaze. "My father's other maps showed the quick ones." Quote, a thin smile touches his lips. "Excellent." He turns to his quartermaster. "Give her a chart, and watch her." The anchor is raised, the sails unfurl with a snap, and the Royal Fortune catches the wind, gliding out of the cove and onto the open sea. For a few hours there is only the creak of the ship, the endless blue of the water, and the anxious thrum of 100 men waiting for a battle. Nathaniel is put to work under the baleful eye of the ship's gunner, his skill with metal and mechanisms too valuable to let go to waste, even if his hands shake as he checks the flint on the cannon's lock. It is you who spots them first. A glint of sunlight on a spyglass, a faint smudge of white on the horizon that is not a cloud. "Sail," you say, your voice flat, pointing. "2 of them. Topsails. Sloops of war." Quote, Roberts raises his own glass, his expression unreadable. "Sooner than I expected. That bounty hunter, Silver, must have a nose for more than just coin." The alarm is raised, not with a bell, but with a series of sharp whistles from the boatswain. The crew leaps into action, a flurry of controlled, efficient movement. The ship seems to come alive, straining for more speed. But the warships are fast, built for pursuit. They begin to close the distance. "They will run us down in open water," Roberts states calmly, lowering his glass. He turns to you. "Your father's quick channels, where are they?" You look at the chart spread on the capstan. It shows the coastline, a jagged line of cliffs and bays. But you see what isn't there. You see the ghost of your father's hand, the secret knowledge he passed to you in stories and riddles. "There," you say, tracing a line with your finger. They call it the serpent's spine, a line of reefs, mostly submerged at high tide. The Crown's ships won't dare it. There's a channel through, but it's narrow. One mistake, and we're on the rocks. Roberts studies your face, then the chart, then the approaching ships. Take the helm, he orders the helmsman. Follow her direction. Exactly. The ship heels over, changing course, heading directly for what looks like a solid wall of white, churning water. The crew's eyes are on you now, a mixture of doubt and desperation. You are an outsider, a woman in a prisoner's shift, directing their fate. Your pessimism screams that this is folly, that you are leading them all to their doom. But the image of Nathaniel on the gallows is a fire that burns hotter than your fear. You plant your feet on the deck, your eyes fixed on the water ahead, reading the subtle shifts in color, the patterns of the swells. "Starboard now!" you cry out over the rising roar of the surf. "Hold her steady!" The ship groans as it enters the turbulent water, waves crashing over the bow, soaking you in cold spray. To your left and right, the dark, jagged teeth of the reef break the surface like monsters rising from the deep. The first warship, following you, seems to hesitate at the entrance to the channel, then fires a ranging shot. A cannonball screams overhead, impossibly close, and smashes into the cliff face behind you, sending a shower of stone chips skittering across the deck. "They're bracketing us!" the quartermaster shouts. "Keep her steady!" You command, your voice raw. "There's a turn ahead. Hard to port on my mark." You guide them through the twisting, churning maze. It's a terrifying, exhilarating dance. The Royal Fortune is a fine ship, responsive and swift. And the helmsman is a master of his craft, translating your shouted commands into precise movements. The warships fall further behind, unwilling to risk their deep-draft hulls in the treacherous shallows. For a moment, you think you've done it. You've outrun them. Then you round a sharp bend in the channel and your heart plummets. Anchored in a small, sheltered basin formed by the reef is another ship, a sloop, smaller than the Royal Fortune but bristling with cannons. A black flag hangs from its mast, but it is not Roberts's device of a skeleton and a heart. It is a skull with two crossed swords. Rackham's flag. But it is not Rackham who stands on its deck. It is the red-haired woman from the cove, Anne. Beside her stands another woman, dressed almost identically in breeches and a seaman's coat, her expression calm and her hand resting on a pistol tucked into her belt. Mary Reed. Their crew, a mix of men and women, levels muskets and pistols at you as you sail into their sanctuary. You have escaped the governor's hounds only to run directly into the jaws of the wolf pack you were trying to warn. "Roberts!" Anne's voice rings out across the water, sharp and clear. "What devil's luck brings you to my doorstep?" Quote, "The same devil that's chasing me, it would seem," Roberts calls back, his own calm, a stark contrast to her fire. He gestures behind him. Far back at the mouth of the channel, the governor's warships wait, like patient predators at the edge of a rabbit hole. They can't enter, but they can certainly block the only exit. You are all trapped. Anne and Mary exchange a look. You see the same calculation in their eyes that you saw in Robert's, assessing threats, weighing options. They are cornered, too. "We came to find Rackham," you shout, seizing the moment. "The governor has laid a trap. He has their map to the charter." Anne's eyes snap to you, her expression hardening with suspicion. The Hangman, Cormac's little bird. She looks from you to Roberts. You sail with strange company, Bart, and you bring the King's Navy with you. She is a tool, nothing more, Roberts says dismissively. But her information is sound. The governor means to crush you all. A common enemy, Anne. It makes for convenient friendships. "I'm not your friend, Bart," she retorts, but there is less venom in her voice. Her gaze is on the warships. She knows they are caught. You reach into the waistband of your shift and pull out the small wooden gull Cormac gave you. You hold it up. "He said you would know what this means. He said he would get a message to Rackham. We have to assume he hasn't yet." Mary Reed, who has been silent until now, speaks, her voice quieter than Anne's, but with an undeniable authority. "The governor's ships won't wait forever. The tide will turn again. They'll either risk the channel or wait for us to come out. We're blown either way." She looks at you, her gaze direct and appraising. "You got his ship through the spine. Is there another way out?" Quote, The pressure is immense. 3 pirate crews, 2 legendary captains, and the most ruthless man on the seas are all looking at you for an answer. Your mind races, sifting through your father's stories, through every scrap of forbidden knowledge. The pessimism is a weight in your stomach, telling you there is no way out. But beneath it, a desperate spark of an idea begins to form, a memory of a story about a place called the Maelstrom, a tidal passage that was said to swallow ships whole. A suicide run. But it was a way out. There is one, you say, your voice barely a whisper, yet it carries across the water in the sudden silence. But you're not going to like it. Anne's fiery gaze narrows on you, her skepticism a palpable force across the churning water. A suicide run? We're pirates, Hangman, not martyrs. Beside her, Mary Reed's expression is harder to read, a mask of calm assessment. It is Roberts who breaks the tense standoff, a flicker of genuine interest in his dark eyes. Madness has its virtues, he calls out, his voice cutting through the roar of the surf. It is often the one path an enemy does not plan for. Explain. All eyes are on you. The weight of 3 crews, 2 warships, and your brother's life rests on the ghost of a story your father once told. It's not on any chart, you begin, your voice gaining strength, forcing them to listen. They call it the Maelstrom, a tidal bore that funnels through a network of sea caves under the cliffs. The entrance is hidden, only visible at the tide's lowest ebb. The passage is barely wide enough for a sloop, let alone a frigate. It's a blind, wreck-strewn gut that will tear the hull from any ship that isn't steered with perfect knowledge. Quote, "And you have this knowledge?" Mary Reed asks, her voice practical, sharp as a whetted blade. "I have my father's memory," you state. A simple, unassailable truth. It's all you have. Roberts makes his decision with the swift, cold logic that defines him. A desperate gamble is better than a certain end, he declares to his crew, then turns his call to Anne's ship. We will follow the Hangman's course. If you wish to face the governor's guns alone, that is your choice. He doesn't wait for an answer, already giving orders. Anne curses, a sharp, bitter sound. But you see her nod to her helmsman. The choice was never a choice at all. You lead them to a place that looks like certain death, a churning patch of water where the waves seem to boil against the cliff face. But as the tide reaches its absolute lowest point, the water recedes for a breathtaking moment, revealing a dark, gaping maw in the rock, slick with green weed. "There!" you yell. "Now!" The Royal Fortune plunges into the darkness. The transition is violent, a jarring shift from open sky to suffocating, echoing dark. The roar of the sea becomes a deafening thunder, amplified by the stone throat of the cave. The air is frigid, tasting of ancient salt and decay. Phosphorescent algae cast a ghostly, blue-green light on the churning water and the jagged walls, revealing the shattered timbers of other, less fortunate ships caught in the passage's teeth. Your commands are screams now, raw and instinctive, as you guide the helmsman through the treacherous, twisting tunnel. Behind you, you can hear the scrape and groan of Anne's sloop, following your path through hell. You feel the ship's hull scrape against unseen rocks, the shudder running through the deck like a death tremor. Then, just as your lungs burn from screaming and the darkness seems absolute, you burst back into daylight. You emerge into a different world. The sun is gone, blotted out by a thick, gray blanket of fog that clings to the water, muffling all sound. The sea is unnaturally calm. The water black and still, rising from the mist ahead, is the hunched, primeval silhouette of an island, its cliffs like broken teeth, its peaks shrouded in a permanent gloom. Isla Perdida. The Lost Isle. A place of rumor and legend, a name whispered by sailors who believed it a gateway to Davy Jones' locker. "We are through," Robert says, his voice quiet beside you. The tension on his ship breaks, replaced by a wave of relieved, exhausted murmurs. "The fog will hide us from the Crown's ships. They will not follow us here." He looks at the island, and for the first time you see a covetous gleam in his eyes. The founders were clever. They chose their hiding place well. A place guarded by superstition, a place no sane man would seek. Quote, Nathaniel comes to your side, his face chalk white. "Where are we?" he whispers, staring at the forbidding shoreline. "The governor's treasure is not gold he stole," you say, the pieces locking into place. "It's the founder's treasure. He has their map. He's looking for their legacy, so he can claim it as his own." Quote, The two ships anchor in a hidden, black-sanded cove. The air is heavy and still, thick with the smell of wet earth and things rotting for 1,000 years. A council of war is held on the deck of the Royal Fortune. It is not a friendly gathering. Roberts, Anne, and Mary stand in a triangle of mutual distrust. "The charter is here," Robert states, tapping a finger on a copy of the governor's map, which he lays on a barrelhead. The map is a riddle, a series of landmarks, where the stone weeps, past the silent watchers, beneath the breath of the isle. Single quote. "Sounds like a bloody fairy tale," Anne scoffs, her hand never straying far from her rapier. "My father helped draw the first surveys of this place," you say, your voice cutting in. The three captains turn to you. "He said the island was older than any map, that it had a language of its own." These aren't riddles, they're directions for someone who knows how to listen. A small party is chosen. Your presence non-negotiable. Nathaniel, because Roberts wants his armorer close. Roberts himself, of course, along with two of his most loyal men. Anne and Mary, refusing to be left behind, join with a handful of their toughest crew. The uneasy alliance ventures ashore, stepping onto the black sand as if onto alien soil. The island is a labyrinth of gnarled, moss-covered trees and razor-sharp volcanic rock. The fog is a living entity, coiling around you, turning the world into a gray, featureless maze. Strange, clicking sounds echo from the trees, and the air shivers with a low hum that you feel in your bones. "The Silent Watchers," the map said. You find them an hour in, a circle of tall, eroded stones that loom out of the mist like hooded figures, their surfaces carved with swirling patterns that seem to shift in the periphery of your vision. They feel ancient, charged with a malevolent energy. One of Anne's men, a large, boastful pirate, reaches out to touch one. As his fingers brush the stone, a section of the ground gives way beneath him. He screams once as he drops into a deep pit, the sound abruptly cut off by a sickening thud. A trap. Ancient and effective. The mood darkens. Every step is now taken with extreme caution. You find where the stone weeps. A cliff face glistening with black, oily water that trickles down into a dark pool. The water is foul, and touching it leaves a numb, tingling sensation on the skin. You lead them on, your instincts screaming, your father's half-forgotten warnings now roaring in your mind. You are not just being watched by the silent stones. You feel other eyes on you. As you pass through a narrow gorge, a musket shot rings out, the ball smacking into the rock just inches from your head. "Ambush!" Mary shouts, drawing her pistol. Figures emerge from the fog ahead. Red-coated soldiers, the governor's men, and leading them, his face set in a greedy snarl, is John Silver. Well, look what the tide dragged in," Silver sneers, his pistol aimed at you. The governor was most displeased about his failed execution. He offered a handsome reward for the woman who cheated the noose, and a king's ransom for what you're all seeking. A chaotic firefight erupts in the mist-filled gorge. The crack of muskets and pistols is deafening, the flashes of powder like strobing lightning in the gray gloom. You drag Nathaniel behind a rock as Roberts and Anne's crews engage the soldiers with practiced, brutal efficiency. This is their element. You are not a fighter, you are a navigator. Your eyes dart around, looking not for an enemy, but for a path. Beneath the breath of the isle, single quote, you see it. A fissure in the rock wall, partially hidden by vines, from which a faint, regular puff of vapor emerges, like a slow, deep breath. "This way," you yell, grabbing Nathaniel. You scramble towards the opening as Roberts and the others provide covering fire, their battle with Silver's men a swirling chaos of smoke and steel. You plunge into the fissure, finding not a cave but a steep, descending tunnel. Nathaniel stumbles behind you. The air is warm, thick with the smell of sulfur. The puffing sound is louder here, a rhythmic, mechanical sigh. You emerge into a vast subterranean chamber. The source of the breathing is a colossal, ancient mechanism of gears and pistons, powered by geothermal vents, slowly turning and pumping air through the chamber. In the center of the room, on a raised dais, sits a collection of heavy, iron-banded chests, the treasure. As Roberts, Anne, and the others follow you in, their faces grimy with gunpowder, their greed overwhelms their caution. They descend on the chests, prying them open with crowbars. The light from their lanterns glints on heaps of gold doubloons, strings of pearls, fist-sized emeralds, and jewel-encrusted goblets. It is a fortune beyond imagining. But you are not looking at the gold. Your eyes are drawn to a smaller, single chest set slightly apart from the others, tucked into an alcove behind the great machine. It is not bound in iron, but carved from a dark, polished wood. It bears no lock, only a single intricate carving on its lid, a spiraling nautilus shell with a line through its center. Your father's mark. Your hands tremble as you lift the heavy lid. It is not filled with treasure. It is filled with leather-bound journals, stacked neatly, their pages dense with your father's familiar, precise script. You lift the topmost one, its leather cool and supple beneath your fingers. You open it. The pessimism in your gut, the cold, hard companion that has guided your every move, dissolves into a wave of profound, world-altering shock. The words on the page are not just a cartographer's notes. They are a manifesto. October 10th, 1715, the entry begins. Roberts has proven both a blessing and a curse. His tactical genius is undeniable, but his ambition is a fire that may consume us all. He sees the charter as a tool for his own reign. Anne and the others see it as a declaration of freedom. I, who am trusted by both, must steer the path between. The alliance is fragile. The trust between the pirate lords and the colonial merchants who secretly fund us is fraying under Thompson's crackdown. He is a fool, but a dangerous one. He thinks he hunts a handful of rebels. He does not know he is fighting a revolution. You flip through the pages, your mind reeling. Page after page details the true scope of the rebellion. It isn't just Rackham's crew. It is a secret network spanning the colonies, a shadow government of merchants, smugglers, freethinkers, and pirates, all united by a single document, the Founders' Charter. Your father was not just a mapmaker for them, he was a strategist, an architect of their dream of a new world, free from the crown. You were never just a hangman, an independent outsider. You are the daughter of the revolution. You look up from the journal, the lantern light of the treasure-mad pirates casting dancing, monstrous shadows on the walls. You look at Roberts, his face illuminated by the glow of gold, a man who would twist this dream into his own tyrannical image. You look at Anne, who sees the gold but whose eyes keep straying to the tunnel, worrying about her crew, a woman fighting for her people's freedom. You look at your brother, safe for now, the reason you are here. And you look at the journal in your hands, a legacy of secrets and ideals so vast it threatens to crush you. The knotted message on your cuff was a single word. This journal is the entire forgotten language. The governor doesn't know, Roberts doesn't know, not the whole truth, but you do. And in this deep, hidden chamber, beneath the breathing of the island, you realize the hangman's noose you escaped was nothing compared to the weight of the crown you have just inherited. The dusty scent of the journal fills your lungs, a smell of history and ink, of your father's impossible secret life. The truth is a weight, heavier than any gold. You are not just a hangman, not just a survivor. You are the heir to a secret war. Your world has been rebuilt on a foundation of lies, and now, in this subterranean chamber, you have just found the bedrock of truth. A distant, muffled crump echoes from the gorge outside, a sound deeper and more resonant than a musket. Then another. Cannons. Not the ship's cannons, but smaller field pieces, dragged ashore. The pirates, drunk on the sight of gold, pause in their avarice, their heads cocked. Roberts is the first to react, his head snapping up, his eyes no longer fixed on the jewels but on the tunnel entrance. The detached curiosity is gone, replaced by the sharp, cold focus of a cornered predator. Field guns, Anne says, her voice a low growl. They've brought artillery. They're sealing the entrance. Quote, John Silver appears at the mouth of the tunnel, his face flushed with triumphant greed. Governor Thompson presents his compliments, he shouts, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. He thanks you for gathering his property in one convenient location. Lay down your arms, and he promises you a swift trial before you hang. Quote, behind him, you can see the red coats of soldiers setting up a barricade, the muzzle of a small cannon pointing directly into the cave system. You are entombed. The treasure is worthless if you are all dead. The pirates look from the gold to the blocked exit, their elation souring into primal fear. We can't fight our way out, Mary Reed says, her voice grimly calm. They'll cut us to ribbons in that narrow passage. Quote, Robert's gaze sweeps the chamber, calculating, discarding options. His eyes land on the massive geothermal machine, hissing and puffing its rhythmic breath. Then his gaze shifts to you. "Your father's memory, Hangman," he says, his voice dangerously soft. "Is there another way out of this box?" You clutch the journal to your chest, your mind racing, flipping through the pages you frantically scanned. Schematics, warnings, theories. It's all here. Your father didn't just map the island, he studied its heart. There is no other exit, you say, and a wave of despair washes over the gathered pirates. You hold up a hand, silencing their groans. But this machine, it's not just for air. It's a pressure regulator for the entire geothermal system. My father wrote that if the main release valves were disabled, the pressure would build to a catastrophic level. It would seek the path of least resistance. Meaning what? Anne demands, stepping closer. You look towards the tunnel leading back to the gorge. Meaning it would vent through this tunnel. A superheated blast of steam and rock, powerful enough to clear any barricade. And any man standing behind it. Quote, a slow, terrible smile spreads across Roberts' face. A dragon's breath. I like it. He turns to the assembled pirates. You want to keep this gold? Then you'll fight for it. Quote, but your eyes are on Nathaniel. He stands frozen, staring at the complex gears and pistons of the machine, a look of terrified awe on his face. Nathaniel, you say, your voice firm, pulling him from his trance. Look at it. The main regulator is there. You point to a series of heavy, locked levers near the machine's core. Can you do it? Can you disable them? Quote, he looks from the machine to the cannon muzzle in the distance, and for the first time since this nightmare began, the fear in his eyes is eclipsed by the focused, analytical light of the armorer. He is no longer in a world of pirates and soldiers. He is in a workshop, looking at a mechanism. The levers are cast iron. I can't break them, he says, his mind already working. But the locking pins, they look like standard pressure-forged steel. If I can heat them to critical temperature and quench them rapidly, they'll become brittle. They'll shatter. There's a small forge in the cove, one of Anne's crew says. We brought some tools ashore. No time, Robert snaps. We use what we have. Quote, Nathaniel's gaze darts around the chamber, landing on the pirate's loot. The alcohol, he says, pointing to a case of spirits one of the men had been celebrating with. And I'll need oil any you have for your pistols. And cloth. And that. He points to a silver baptismal font, ornately carved and heavy, looted from some forgotten church. I need to concentrate the heat. A plan, desperate and mad, coalesces in the chamber, while Nathaniel, his hands suddenly steady, directs the pirates to gather materials. You, Roberts, Anne, and Mary huddle together. The blast will be chaos, you say, tracing a map in the dirt. It will disorient them, but it won't kill them all. They'll regroup. We'll have one chance to break their line and get to the governor. Quote, my men and I will punch through the center, Roberts declares, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. We will secure the field guns. My crew will take the flanks, Anne adds, her eyes burning with a fierce light. We'll sow confusion, keep them from reforming their line. You look at Mary Reed, she nods, understanding her role without a word. She is the anchor, the one who will ensure the two fiercely independent crews work as one in the critical moments of the attack. Your role is different. You are not a warrior. You are the architect, and the target. As Nathaniel works, his fear burned away by the fire of his task, you watch him with a swelling pride. He directs the pirates to wrap the locking pins in oil-soaked cloth, then uses the silver font as a makeshift furnace, feeding it with splintered wood from a treasure chest and high-proof rum. The fire roars to life, casting a hellish glow. Now, Nathaniel yells once the pins are glowing cherry red. The water from the weeping stone, quickly! Pirates scramble to fill canteens and helmets with the black, oily water from outside the chamber. As they pour it over the glowing pins, the metal screams, a high-pitched shriek of thermal shock. Nathaniel strikes the first pin with a crowbar. It shatters with a sharp crack. He moves to the next. One by one, the fail-safes are broken. The rhythmic puffing of the great machine begins to falter, its breath growing labored. A deep, groaning rumble starts to build from deep within the island, a sound you feel in the soles of your feet. It's gotta go, Nathaniel screams, stumbling back. Get clear! To the entrance! Roberts commands, prepare to charge! You and the pirates flatten yourselves into alcoves and behind rock formations near the tunnel mouth, the ground vibrating violently beneath you. The low rumble builds to a deafening roar. For a terrifying second, you fear you have miscalculated, that the entire chamber will collapse. Then, with an earth-shattering eruption, the machine gives way. A colossal jet of white-hot steam and rock fragments blasts down the tunnel. You hear the screams of the soldiers, the shriek of tortured metal as the cannon is torn from its carriage, and then the sound is swallowed by the ongoing roar. "Now!" Roberts bellows, and he is the first one out, a crimson-coated demon charging into the steam-filled chaos. You follow, emerging into a scene from hell. The gorge is a maelstrom of hissing steam and blinding fog. The soldiers' disciplined line has been obliterated. Men scream, blinded and burned, stumbling through the mist. Roberts's crew cuts a swath through them, a focused, brutal spearhead. Anne and Mary's pirates hit the flanks, their cutlasses and pistols appearing out of the mist like phantoms, adding to the terror and confusion. Through a momentary clearing in the steam, you see him, Governor Thompson. He stands near the cliff edge, his fine coat spattered with mud, his face a mask of disbelief and fury. John Silver is beside him, attempting to rally a small group of personal guards, but the battle is already lost. Their superior numbers and firepower meant nothing against a weapon forged from the island's own heart. Your path is clear. You are not armed with a sword, but with your father's journal. You sprint towards the governor, ignoring the skirmishes around you. Silver sees you coming, raises his pistol, his face contorting in a snarl. A shot rings out, but it is not from his gun. A pistol ball takes him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Mary Reed stands 20 paces away, her own pistol smoking, a grim nod in your direction before she turns to engage another soldier. You reach the governor as his last guards break and run. He is alone, his back to the cliff's edge. He draws a decorative, inadequate rapier, his hand trembling with rage, not skill. "Traitorous witch!" he sputters, his face purple. "You and this pirate scum! I am the law! I am the crown!" "You are a bankrupt tyrant," you say, your voice cold and clear, holding up the journal. "And this is your death warrant. Not written by a king, but by every merchant you've extorted, every family you've ruined. They funded this alliance. They wrote the real history of this port, while you were busy writing lies." Quote. His eyes widen as he recognizes the Nautilus symbol on the cover, a symbol he has seen on the decoy map. He understands. He lunges, not to kill you, but to get the book, the evidence of his fraud. You sidestep easily, and he stumbles past you, his momentum carrying him to the very brink of the cliff. He teeters there for a moment, his arms windmilling, his face a comical mask of shock. And then he is gone, his screams swallowed by the fog and the sea below. Silence falls over the gorge, broken only by the groans of the wounded and the hissing of the steam. The surviving soldiers, their leader gone, their will broken, throw down their weapons. Robert stands over the captured field gun, his coat torn but his victory absolute. Anne leans on her rapier, surveying the scene with a tired but triumphant gaze. You look down at the journal in your hands. You have done it. You have ended the governor's reign of terror. But in the quiet aftermath of the battle, a new, heavier pessimism settles upon you. You have not ended the war. You have merely fired the first shot. The crown will send another governor, more ships, more soldiers. And you hold the blueprint for the revolution, a burden far heavier than any hangman's noose. You are no longer just an executioner. You are a cause. And causes have a way of demanding the ultimate price. The steam thins, turning from a blinding shroud to a series of ghostly, coiling tendrils that drift across the gorge. The silence that follows the chaos is a heavy blanket, disturbed only by the weeping of the rock and the low moans of the injured. The battle was a thing of violent, percussive fury. Its aftermath is a quiet, spreading stain. You stand on the precipice where a governor fell, the leather of your father's journal cool and solid against your trembling fingers. It is an anchor in a world that has just been torn from its moorings. Below, the pirates move with a grim purpose. Roberts's men are disarming the captured soldiers with cold efficiency, while Anne's crew tends to their own wounded, their movements gentle in a way that belies the brutal violence of moments before. Nathaniel is with them, his newfound confidence from the machine's sabotage having evaporated, leaving him pale and shaken. He is pressing a strip of torn linen to a gash on a pirate's arm, his armorer's hands, so used to metal, now clumsy with flesh and blood. He looks up and meets your eyes, his expression a question you have no answer for. What now? Roberts approaches you, his crimson coat ripped and stained, but his posture as regal as ever. He is not looking at the defeated soldiers or the captured cannons. His dark, intelligent eyes are fixed on the journal in your hands. A most effective tool, he says, his voice a low murmur. Your father was more than a map-maker. He was a king-maker. Anne and Mary join him, their faces smudged with soot, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and wary triumph. Anne's gaze, too, is drawn to the journal. Is it true? She asks, her voice raw. Everything you said to Thompson, the merchants, the families, they're with us? They are the Alliance, you correct her quietly. They have been from the start. You were the sword. They were the purse and the pen. Quote, the three of them stand before you. Roberts, the pragmatist who sees power, Anne, the idealist who sees a cause, and Mary, the realist who sees the consequences. The captured treasure, gleaming in the chest behind them, suddenly seems like a pile of meaningless glittering rocks. The real treasure, the real power, is the leather-bound book you hold. And now its future, and the future of the revolution it describes, is being decided in this foggy, blood-soaked gorge. This changes everything, Roberts says, a slow smile spreading across his face. He gestures at the book. With this, we don't need to fight skirmishes in forgotten coves. We hold the names, the accounts, the entire network. We can force their hand, compel their loyalty. We can control the spine of the rebellion from the shadows. He imagines a world where he is the spy master, the puppet master pulling the strings of commerce and dissent across the colonies. Another form of tyranny, dressed in revolutionary clothes. Control it? Anne scoffs, her voice filled with disbelief. We should be shouting it from the rooftops. This is proof. Proof that we are not just outcasts and criminals. It proves our fight is the people's fight. We share this with everyone. We sail to every port and read from its pages. The Crown's authority will crumble when the colonists know their most respected leaders have been plotting independence for years. Her vision is a glorious, fiery one, a single spark that ignites a continent-wide blaze. A blaze that would surely consume the unprepared and innocent in its path. You look from one to the other, your pessimism a cold, clarifying lens. Roberts's path leads to coercion and fear, replacing one master with another. Anne's path leads to a premature war, pitting poorly armed colonists against the full might of the Royal Navy. It would be a slaughter, an idealistic dream drowned in the blood of the very people she wants to liberate. You're both wrong, you say, your voice quiet but firm. The three captains turn to you, surprised by your audacity. You are the hangman, the navigator, the tool. You are not supposed to have an opinion, but you are also your father's daughter. If you use this book as a weapon of blackmail, Roberts, the alliance will shatter. Trust will turn to fear, and they will turn on you and each other to save their own skins. The revolution will eat itself alive before it's even born. You turn your gaze to Anne. And if you make this public, Anne, you sign a death warrant for every person named within these pages. The Crown will not see this as a rebellion. They will see it as treason on a massive scale. They will send an armada. They will make an example of these colonies that will be remembered for 1,000 years. They will burn everything to the ground just to salt the earth. Your words hang in the air, a chilling counterpoint to their ambitions. Mary Reed, who has been silent, nods, slowly. She's right. We're not ready for that fight. We'd be crushed. Then what? Anne demands, frustrated. We do nothing? We sit on the most powerful secret in the New World? Quote, no, you say, feeling the weight of your father's legacy settle onto your shoulders, a mantle you never asked for but must now wear. We don't do nothing. We do what my father was doing. We build, we prepare, we use their greatest weakness against them. You look towards the chests of gold and jewels. The Crown thinks the colonies are poor. Governor Thompson was bankrupt. They believe they rule over a struggling enterprise that is more trouble than it's worth. We let them keep believing that. You hold up the journal. We keep this secret. For now. This knowledge is our shield, not our sword. It protects the alliance, allows it to grow in the shadows, to gather strength undetected. Then you gesture to the treasure. And this is our true weapon. We don't bury it on some deserted island. We funnel it back into the ports. We use it to buy grain when the crown's taxes cause a shortage. We use it to pay the medical bills of families whose sons were pressed into naval service. We build new docks, fund new ships, bribe the right officials, and arm the local militias under the guise of civic improvement. We don't win the people's loyalty with grand pronouncements of revolution. We earn it, one loaf of bread, one mended roof, one musket at a time. We make the alliance not just an idea, but the source of their prosperity and security. When the time for open war comes, they won't be fighting for a secret their leaders kept. They'll be fighting to protect the lives we helped them build. Quote, "It's a long game, a strategy of patience and subversion. It is not a glorious charge, but a slow, rising tide. It is your father's plan, gleaned from the pages you hold." Roberts is silent for a long time, his calculating mind turning your strategy over, examining it from every angle. He sees the profit, the long-term investment, the subtle accumulation of real power. Anne looks torn, the fire of her idealism dampened by the cold water of your logic. But she sees the wisdom in protecting the innocent, in building a foundation strong enough to withstand the coming storm. "A portion of the treasure will be needed to refit our ships, to pay our crews," Mary says, ever the pragmatist. Men don't fight for ideals alone. "Of course," you agree, "a fifth for each of your crews." To ensure your loyalty and your silence. You look directly at Roberts. "But the rest, the lion's share, goes into the fund, and Nathaniel and I will administer it." It's a bold declaration, placing yourself and your brother at the heart of the conspiracy. A ghost of a smile plays on Roberts's lips. He sees what you are doing. By controlling the money, you control the flow of the revolution. You are not his tool anymore. You are a player. "A clever move, Hangman," he concedes with a nod. "Very well, your strategy is sound. For now." Anne finally agrees, her disappointment warring with her sense of duty. "For the people," she says, "the words a vow. The decision is made. The treasure is apportioned under Mary's watchful eye, ensuring fairness. The captured soldiers are stripped of their weapons and uniforms and marooned on the island, left with enough supplies to survive until the next ship happens upon them. They are a problem for another day. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the gorge, you and Nathaniel stand on the deck of the Royal Fortune, watching the forbidding cliffs of Isla Perdida recede into the fog. The ship is heavy with gold, but your soul is heavier with the burden of what you carry. Nathaniel stands beside you, no longer the frantic, scared boy from the gallows square, but a man who has found his own kind of strength. "Our father," he begins, his voice full of wonder and sorrow. "He was playing a game I never could have imagined." Quote, "He was trying to build a better world, Nat, you say, your hand resting on the journal, which you've tucked safely into a satchel. And now it's our turn to finish it. Your pessimism, your old familiar shield, tells you that the odds are impossibly long. You are caught between pirates and politicians, between the crown's iron fist and a fragile, secret alliance. But for the first time, you feel something else stirring alongside the cold certainty of risk. It's not hope. Hope is a fool's game. It is purpose. The gallows were meant to be your end, a statement made by a corrupt governor. Instead, they were your beginning. You are l'Petit, hangman, navigator, revolutionary. And as the ship sails into the gathering darkness, you accept the weight of your new title, architect of the long war to come. The voyage back is a phantom passage. The Royal Fortune and Anne's sloop, the Sea Serpent's Revenge, cut through the water like gray ghosts, their holds heavy with a future you can barely comprehend. The pirates, for their part, are subdued. The bloodlust of battle has cooled, leaving behind the aching reality of lost crewmates and the quiet, simmering anticipation of their share of the gold. Roberts keeps to his cabin, poring over the captured charts, already plotting his next move in the grand game. Anne walks her own deck, her fiery hair a spark of color in the gray seascape, her gaze distant. You have given them a new purpose, but they are still pirates, forces of nature you have only temporarily aimed in one direction. You spend the time in the ship's waist, the captured journal, a solid weight in your satchel, the salt spray cold on your face. You are not celebrating. Your pessimism does not allow for such things. It dissects the victory, finds the flaws, calculates the new, more complex risks. You have not won a war. You have merely survived a single bloody battle and, in doing so, have painted a larger target on your own back. The crown is a beast with 1,000 eyes and a very long memory. Nathaniel joins you, his hands clean for the first time in days. He leans on the railing, following your gaze to the endless horizon. "They're listening to you," he says, his voice low. "Roberts, Anne, even their crews, they look at you differently." "They look at the solution to their problem," you counter, your voice flat. "Right now, I am useful. The moment I am not, they will cast me aside. Or sink me." Quote, "I don't think so," he says, and there's a new firmness in his tone, a steel forged in the fire of the island's heart. "You didn't just give them a plan, Lena. You gave them a story that makes sense of their lives. A reason for their fight that's bigger than plunder." He looks at his own hands. "You did the same for me." You look at him, truly look at him, and see that the insecure boy who trembled by the rain barrels is gone. He has been scoured away by fear and fire, leaving this quieter, more deliberate man in his place. He is no longer just your weakness. He is your ally, your first and most trusted officer in a war no one knows you are fighting. You part ways with the pirates at a deserted quay, a place of sand and scrub, under the light of a half moon. The treasure is divided, loaded onto longboats. Roberts gives you a long, appraising look. "Remember, Hangman," he says, "tides turn. See that this investment of mine pays its dividend." It is both a promise and a threat. Anne is more direct. She clasps your forearm, her grip surprisingly strong. "Don't let the bastards grind you down," she says, a flicker of fierce camaraderie in her eyes. And then they are gone, melting back into the darkness of the sea, leaving you and Nathaniel on the shore with 3 heavy chests and a stolen fishing skiff. The return to Port Royal is a thing of shadows and whispers. You land not at the main harbor, but in a smuggler's cove your father had marked on a hidden map, the same one you used to escape. The city is in turmoil. With the governor and his best soldiers gone, a power vacuum has formed. The remaining town council, a gaggle of portly, panicked merchants, has declared a state of emergency. But their authority is a threadbare cloak. Crime has risen, and the air is thick with uncertainty. It is the perfect environment for your work to begin. You and Nathaniel do not simply start handing out gold. That would draw attention, create suspicion. Your father's journals are your guide. They contain more than just revolutionary theory. They are a detailed ledger of the port's secret life, a map of its debts, its grievances, its hidden levers of power. You begin with the market. Thompson had imposed a ruinous tax on all incoming grain, allowing his cronies to hoard supply and drive up prices. The poor were starving. Using a trusted merchant named Elias Vance, a man whose name appears frequently in your father's accounts, you use a portion of the treasure to buy 3 shiploads of grain from a free port. Vance sells it at the old, fair price. The governor's cronies, unable to compete, are forced to drop their prices or see their stores rot. For the first time in a year, the price of bread falls. No one knows why. They call it the hangman's dividend, a rumor that starts in the taverns, a joke that holds a kernel of impossible truth. Nathaniel finds his purpose in the workshops and alleys. He uses the gold to establish a widows and orphans fund, administered by the church but secretly managed by him. He pays off the predatory loans taken out by the families of men Thompson had pressed into service. He buys timber and hires out-of-work carpenters to repair the fishing fleet, battered by the last hurricane and neglected by the governor. He doesn't hand out charity. He creates work. He restores dignity. He moves through the city's underbelly, not as a frightened boy, but as a quiet benefactor, his armorer's eye seeing the broken parts of the community and knowing, instinctively, how to mend them. The city begins to heal, not by decree, but by 1,000 small, anonymous acts of repair. The victory is not a grand celebration, but the quiet satisfaction of a child eating a full meal, the sound of a hammer ringing in a boatyard that had fallen silent. It is bittersweet, a constant reminder of the price paid on the island, and the price that is yet to come. And the story spreads. The sailors from Roberts's and Anne's crews, their pockets heavy with gold, cannot keep their silence. In taverns from Nassau to Charleston, the tale is told, growing with each telling. They speak of the hangman who cheated the noose, who walked out of her own execution. They whisper of a woman who could read the water like a book, who guided 2 ships through the serpent's spine where the Royal Navy dared not follow. They sing shanties of the ghost island, of a battle in the fog against a tyrant governor, of a dragon's breath that tore a fortress apart. They call you the Tide Witch, the Noose Breaker, the Daughter of the Drowned. The truth is lost in the legend, but the core of it, that one person, armed with courage and knowledge, can topple a tyrant, shines through. You become a symbol. Letters, carried by trusted captains your father knew, begin to arrive. A man in Boston writes of a new committee forming inspired by the Port Royal Gambit, dedicated to resisting new taxes from the crown. A woman in Philadelphia, a printer, asks for more details, wanting to publish an anonymous pamphlet of your story to stiffen the spines of the local assembly. The revolution you inherited is no longer just a theory in a book. It is a living, breathing thing, taking root in soil you have never walked, tended by hands you have never shaken. You sit in the small second-story room above Nathaniel's new, expanded armory, your secret headquarters, and read these letters by candlelight. The pessimism in your gut churns. You are a hangman, a creature of endings, of grim certainty. But you have become a symbol of beginnings. The weight of their hope is terrifying. One evening you stand at the window, looking down at the port. The new dock Nathaniel funded is nearly complete, its fresh-cut pine, a pale scar against the old, weathered wood. The market square, once a place of tension and hunger, is bustling, filled with the sounds of commerce and conversation. A group of children chase each other around the fountain where you found your father's clue, their laughter bright in the evening air. For a fleeting moment, you allow yourself to feel it, not joy, not hope, but a deep, resonant satisfaction. This is real. The change is real. Nathaniel comes to stand beside you, holding 2 mugs of hot, spiced cider. Elias Vance says the last of Thompson's cronies on the council resigned this morning, he says. They're appointing new members next week. He wants to put your name forward. You shake your head, taking a mug from him. The warm ceramic feels good in your hands. No, the hangman stays in the shadows. We lead from beneath, not from above. He nods, understanding. The work is never done, is it? Quote, "No," you say, your gaze fixed on the lights of the ships in the harbor. "It's just begun." Quote, "The city is quieter now, safer. It is more just. But you know this is just a single point of light in a vast gathering darkness. The crown will learn of Thompson's fate. They will send another governor, a smarter one, a more ruthless one, with more ships and more soldiers. The legend of the hangman will reach their ears not as a tale of hope, but as a threat to be extinguished. The new dawn over Port Royal is fragile, beautiful, and born under the shadow of a coming war. And you, the woman who was meant to die, are the one who must stand and face it. The war you faced was not one of grand naval battles, not a single glorious charge against the crown's flag. It was a war of whispers and ledgers, of grain shipments and timely repairs. It was a slow, grinding siege fought in the alleyways and counting houses of a dozen ports, a conflict won not with cannons, but with contracts and coin, with loyalty earned one quiet favor at a time. For 10 years, you were the architect of that silent revolution. You and Nathaniel, working from the shadows of Port Royal, steered the alliance, funneling the island's treasure into the veins of the colonies, nurturing the roots of dissent until they were strong enough to crack the foundations of the crown's authority. You never held office, never gave a speech. You were a ghost, a legend, the hangman, who had become the revolution's anonymous heart. And then, when the First Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia, when the whispers had finally grown into a unified, defiant voice, you vanished. You took your father's journals, your share of the remaining treasure, and you and Nathaniel simply sailed away, leaving the war you had so carefully orchestrated for others to fight on the open stage. Your home now is a small, salt-bleached cottage perched on a rocky headland, far to the north where the air is sharp with the scent of pine and cold salt water. The Caribbean sun is a distant, fiery memory, replaced by a softer, more forgiving light that paints the gray-green sea in shades of silver and slate. This is your quiet life. The pessimism never truly left you. It simply softened, like a sharp stone worn smooth by the ceaseless tide. It is no longer a shield against imminent death, but a quiet acceptance of the world's inherent fragility. It reminds you that this peace, this profound and welcome silence, is a thing to be guarded, for it was bought at a terrible price. You sit on the weathered porch, a heavy woolen blanket over your knees, and watch the waves crash against the dark rocks below. The sound is a constant, rhythmic companion. It is not the treacherous, churning water of the serpent's spine, nor the suffocating roar of the maelstrom. It is the steady, indifferent breathing of the ocean, a sound of profound and enduring freedom. You trace the faint silvery line on your neck with a fingertip, a ghost of the rope burn that has long since faded. It no longer feels like a brand of condemnation, but a reminder of the first breath you took in the darkness of the service tunnel, the first true breath of your second life. The cottage door creaks open, and Nathaniel steps out, carrying 2 steaming mugs. He is older now, his face lined by the sun and the sea, his hair flecked with gray at the temples. The anxiety that once haunted his eyes has been replaced by a deep, settled calm. His forge, built into a small stone outbuilding, is quiet now, save for the delicate work he does on clocks and astrolabes. His armorer's precision now turned to measuring time and charting stars. He mends time now, instead of weapons. He hands you a mug, the warmth seeping into your cold fingers. He doesn't speak, merely settles into the chair beside you, his presence a familiar comfort, a silent conversation you have been having for years. Sometimes, the memories surface unbidden, carried on the wind. The cry of a gull can sound, for a fleeting moment, like the shriek of a block and tackle under strain on the Royal Fortune. The sharp smell of pine from the woods behind your cottage can evoke the scent of raw lumber on the gallows. And on nights when the fog rolls in thick from the sea, you can almost see the hulking shapes of the silent watchers looming in the mist, feel the ground tremble with the island's geothermal breath. You do not push these memories away. They are part of you, the threads that make up the tapestry of your survival. They are the ghosts you have learned to live with, the silent residents of your hard-won peace. A ship, a small merchant brig, makes its way slowly up the coast, its sails brilliant white against the darkening water. You watch it pass, a traveler from a world you have left behind. It brings to mind the last letter you received, months ago, tucked into a shipment of tea, and delivered by a taciturn New England captain who asked no questions. It was written in a coded script you recognized, one of the many that had spawned from your father's original ciphers. It spoke of skirmishes near towns called Lexington and Concord. It spoke of a general named Washington, a man of quiet determination who was forging an army from farmers and shopkeepers. It spoke of the Declaration, a document of such bold and soaring treason that it made your father's journals seem like a modest proposal. The alliance you had nurtured had finally shed its skin of secrecy and stepped into the light of open war. The future you worked for in the darkness was now being written in blood and ink for all the world to see. You are no longer the architect, merely a grateful observer of the house being built. Do you ever miss it? Nathaniel asks, his voice soft, breaking the long silence. You consider the question, watching the last sliver of the sun dip below the horizon, setting the clouds ablaze with strokes of violet and gold. Do you miss the adrenaline, the constant, razor-sharp focus of knowing that one mistake meant death? Do you miss the intricate dance of power, the silent satisfaction of outmaneuvering men who believed themselves your superior? I miss the purpose. You admit, your voice barely a whisper. But I don't miss the cost, quote. He nods, understanding. He knows the cost. He saw it in the faces of the widows he helped, in the eyes of the men who died in the foggy gorge on Isla Perdida. He felt it in the shudder of the earth before the dragon's breath was unleashed. The light fades completely, leaving you in the cool twilight of the coming night. The distant cries of the gulls have ceased, replaced by the soft hoot of an owl in the pines. The wind picks up, whispering through the porch railings, carrying tales you can no longer decipher. They are tales of continued struggle, of victories and defeats in a war that now belongs to others. You pass the torch, and with it the burden, the spirit of rebellion, the fierce, desperate need for a person to be the author of their own life, lives on. It is a testament to Anne's fire, to Roberts's ambition, to your father's quiet dream, and to every nameless pirate and merchant who dared to believe in a different world. You and Nathaniel were just a chapter in that story, a single, knotted thread in a much larger rope. The future will be shaped by future generations, by children who will grow up reading about these days in history books, never knowing the true secret story written in a hangman's knots and an armorer's skill. And that is as it should be. The legend of the Tide Witch belongs to the sea now, a story for sailors to tell on long, dark watches. Your part is done. You feel Nathaniel's hand find yours in the growing darkness, his touch warm and real. You are no longer just the hangman, no longer the revolutionary. You are Lena Petite, a woman on a porch, beside her brother, watching the tide come in. And as the first stars begin to appear in the vast velvet sky, you listen to the sea. It is still there, its embrace cold but constant. The waves continue to roll, washing away the footprints of the past, preparing the shore for a new day. And in the rhythmic hiss of the surf against the sand you can hear it, the sound that will outlast all empires and all kings. It is the endless, undying whisper of freedom,